Hi, how you doing? I've been watching birds in the yard for about 20 years now, and it's fun to see what shows up in the yard. I mostly watch through the windows, and I miss a lot because by the time I walk by the window, I see a bird at the feeder, I go to get the binoculars, and then next thing you know, the bird is gone. So I do miss a lot. Feeding birds definitely draws in more bird activity. And once they get used to a feed source, they keep coming back. They don't leave it very often. For this winter, I have something new to try, and that is a smart camera bird feeder by Peck Perk. My name is Sharon. I garden on a large yard in a small town in east central Saskatchewan, Zone 3. Welcome to MySaskGarden. And as I said, this camera bird feeder that I have is from Peck Perk. And the model I have is Avia Peck 1. And full disclosure, Peck Perk reached out to me and asked me if they could send me one of these, and then I would test it out and give my honest opinion of it in a video. And so here I am doing that. But just to clarify, this was a gift from Peck Perk. However, this video is not sponsored by Peck Perk. That is to say, I'm not getting paid by Peck Perk. I also am not part of an affiliate program, and so I don't have a discount code, or I'm not selling them or anything like that. I will tell you where you can get them though. Camera bird feeders and these smart bird feeders are something fairly new, I think. They take feeding birds and bird watching in your yard to a whole new level. I'm particularly excited about setting up this bird feeder this year because for 3 or 4 years I have not been able to feed the birds. I had a horrid house sparrow problem, and you know, when you invite birds to the yard to feed, you can't be really too selective about the kind of birds you're going to get. You have to be prepared to allow all birds to the feeder. However, the house sparrow problem was a definite. He's landed right on top of the camera. The house sparrow problem was a definite problem with several hundred in the yard, and not only did I have to stop feeding at that time, but I also actually had to remove or cut down several tall lilacs because they were using that as their overnight roosting place, and the mess inside the next day, I was very concerned about it. I thought that it was not healthy to have that kind of amount of bird droppings in a fairly small area. And like I said, there were so many of them. So I did stop feeding entirely, and for a few years, and as well cut down those lilacs to a little bit more manageable size. And if you've seen my videos, you know that I'm actually taking out those now to extend the rock garden area. But anyways, I digress. So I am excited about this because not only am I starting to feed the birds again, which I've actually missed for the last few years. I've missed that winter activity because, you know, it is a winter activity. It's something to watch in the winter, as I said, from the windows. And in this case, it's going to be, actually I can watch them in the yard in another manner. I'll get to that in just a minute. So I think that it is now safe to start feeding the birds again, and I will be able to monitor actually if I get house sparrows back in the yard, and if I do, how many. So if you've not heard of these smart bird feeders yet, as I had not, I had to kind of look them up and see what they were all about. It's a bird feeder with a hopper that you could put seed in, and on the front of it, it has a camera. It's kind of like a trail camera, but actually it's a whole lot more. This unit connects to your home Wi-Fi. Then there's an app by Peck Perk that you connect the camera to, and then you can watch the activity on your phone, or in my case, I've connected it to my iPad. This camera is battery powered, it's wireless, and it has a solar panel to keep that battery charged. And this unit unlike some other units, this unit, the solar panel is included with the package that you buy. The app is great, and it makes everything really easy to manage. Not only can you watch the activity live on your device inside your house or wherever you are, you can also, the camera also records when it senses motion, and you can set the amount of time for recording. You can then save those recordings to an album within the app, and you just do that over Wi-Fi. And you can also download those recordings to your device, to your phone, or in my case, down to my iPad. You can also share those by sending a video to a friend. But you can also, there's a slot just in the top for an SD card, and you can also record to that SD card and then physically remove the card, take it into your house, and download the recordings from that SD card. And another feature is while you're watching the live feed on your device, you can also hit the record button and take longer videos, or you can snap HD photos while you're watching. And so all that to say is you will never miss what is going on at your feeder. There's a whole lot of options for mounting this feeder. So here we've got it mounted to a tree, as you can see, and that's done by having this wide heavy-duty strap with a heavy-duty clamp. I'll get up close in a second to show you, but this strap kind of loops in through the back of the bracket, and then it goes around the tree and is clamped very tightly with a really heavy-duty clamp. There's also, I think this is the tripod mount. You can mount it to a tripod, and there is also a whole bag of clamps for pole mounting. It also comes with all kinds of screws and things if you need to mount it to a wall as well. It can be mounted to a wall. Wow, can you hear that? There must be 5,000 geese over there. There's some other attachments as well. One is, and I don't have it here, I left it in the house, but one is a little cup type hummingbird feeder that would attach to the front of this, perch. And the other thing you get is something they call fruit forks, which are little plastic forks like this that you can attach oranges to, or for feeding orioles. Here I've attempted to attach a bit of suet block to it, and then there's holes in this. I was going to put that into there, but I think it would work actually, but I don't feel comfortable putting pressure on while it's mounted like this. I think the whole unit would have to come off, or at least this front part, and then I'd be able to attach that better. So for now I've just put it right there, and I think having some manner of attaching suet would be nice for this. I also have just one of these cages that holds a suet block, and I think it would probably go on there, but it would also be fairly heavy. That cage itself is kind of heavy, so it would be kind of nice if Peck Perk came up with some sort of system to hold suet blocks for us cold zoners who definitely feed the suet blocks in the winter in addition to feed. For now, I just might put that somewhere. There we go. So that I think is all of the options that you would have for mounting, which are varied. You could mount them anywhere, I think. I walked around the yard a lot looking for the best place. Initially, I thought of a tree on the front of the yard. I wasn't sure. I thought perhaps, because it's the front yard, I thought perhaps the traffic there would be kind of, it wouldn't be the best place for putting a bird feeder, just because they scare off fairly quickly when cars are driving by. So what I was looking for was somewhere that I could get a good Wi-Fi signal, first of all, that gets fairly good sunlight for the solar panel, and somewhere as well that I could see from the house. I also didn't want it to be too far away or trudging through a lot of snow to try and come and, you know, fill the feeder or have to take it down if by chance I had to do that. Or I just wanted it to be fairly accessible as well. As it turned out, this tree in the backyard, which is just maybe, I don't know, 20 feet from the lower deck, it seems to be a perfect spot. We've mounted it low enough to be able to take off the hopper. This is the top, this top part covers the seed hopper in there, and it's secured with a screw at the back. Again, I'll just get you close in a second. And then this part, the actual feeding part, sits on a bracket. That bracket is what's attached to whatever you're going to attach it to. In this case, the bracket is attached to the tree with this wide strap. And then this unit slides on and off the bracket. So if you did have to take it off, it would not be that difficult to do. And here is a closer view of how it's mounted. So there is the bracket. This unit sits on the bracket. It actually slides on and off. And there is this strap, and this strap tightens and connects right back there. That's almost the maximum of this strap, but you know, I don't think I could put my arms around this tree. I believe I measured it, the strap, and I think it was somewhere around 4 feet long. And then just a close-up of the solar panel, and then the solar panel just plugs in to the back there. The setup of this could not be simpler. You take it out of the box, you attach this perch, you take the protective film off the front of the camera, that's the next step, and then you charge the battery, which didn't take, it says it can take up to 14 hours, and you know, I'm sure each one is different, but this one only took maybe 2 or 3 hours before it showed that it was fully charged. And you charge that with an included USB cable. Then you download the app. As I said, I chose to download it to my iPad, which I usually have with me more often than my phone. Then you add the camera to the app over Bluetooth, over Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. An instruction manual is included, and it walks you through everything. It really is very, very simple. Another thing that it comes with is a little, if you were going to screw it into the wall or whatever, it comes with this little template to show you where exactly the screws should go. So that's kind of a nice touch. And you know, truly it is super simple. I figured it out without much trouble at all. And if that can happen, then anybody can do it. It truly is a plug and play setup. Now, mounting it on this tree with all this craggy old bark was not as simple. And we landed up using some shims at the back of it just to keep it more stable and keep it from falling forward a little bit, which it wanted to do. I suspect that if you had bark or whatever, a smoother surface, that would not happen. But because of the bark, we did land up doing that, and so it's very, very tight now. We've had some really windy days since it's been up. It doesn't shake in the wind at all, and I think that it is very solid to the tree now. The solar panel, on the other hand, is screwed right into the tree, just with little 1-inch screws, they're not going to hurt this big tree at all. This feed hopper on the front is very large, and I'm sure it would take, oh, I don't know how many pounds of seed it would take. I've chosen to use chipped sunflower seed to minimize the mess. It's a seed that I do like to use. I find it goes a long way without a whole bunch of waste on the ground that eventually just gets covered up with snow half the time, and so the birds can't even access it down there. The hopper itself is like fully enclosed. There is, like I said, there's a screw on the back to take it off and fill it up, and it keeps the seed inside nice and dry. This camera on the front is, you can point it in different directions or different angles, and I have found that the best, doesn't work with gloves, I have found for the small birds that it's best to point it quite a bit downwards instead of more outwards, because they tend to spend more time down in here than actually perched on here. That might make a difference now that this little bit of suet is here, which I'm going to leave and see if they enjoy that. And I haven't seen any big birds yet come to this feeder. Like, I haven't seen any blue jays, haven't seen any magpies, which might be a bit of a nuisance bird if they did show up, but I've never usually seen too many magpies. They tend to stay up higher, or they watch the blue jays if the blue jays are getting peanuts, and then the magpies are pretty quick about that. They can figure that out. So back to this, we've had rain and we've had snow in the past few days, and this is kind of a little bit ice crusted at the moment, and the seed has stayed dry. I can see in there that the seed is nice and dry. It's you know, a very good design for that. It also provides the birds just a little bit with this kind of overhang. It kind of provides the birds a little bit of protection. I have it mounted here on the south side of the tree, southeast side of the tree. It faces southeast a little. This faces the angle of the sun at the moment and about due south. And our wind is almost always from the northwest, and so I thought that perhaps this would provide the most amount of protection. There's also, well, there's still leaves on this willow tree. It takes a while for them to fall down, but there's quite a few branches up there as well, big limbs and stuff that probably will help to some degree as well. So after testing out its ability to detect motion, I just had to sit back and wait for the birds. And because I hadn't had a feeder for a while, it did take a couple of days for the birds to find it. And the first birds to find it were the chickadees, a pair of chickadees. They decided to sing a bit and invited a whole bunch more of their friends. And so there's quite a few chickadees hanging about. They're interesting to watch because they will rarely be two at a feeder. They swoop in, they take a seed, they fly off, and almost immediately another one will swoop in, grab a seed, and fly off. And you know, this is what you really see when you're watching the activity, either live or on the recorded videos. You see that, and it's just neat to watch. It's really cool to watch, actually, if you like watching birds. Chickadees are just the sweetest little social birds, and they seem to sing all year long, and they're really, really fun to have in the yard. Next bird to find the feeder was a white-breasted nuthatch, and there's two of them as well, which I've seen on the camera, seen on this unit, which sometimes it's difficult to tell how many birds you have of a certain species, how many you have in the yard, but this does make it easier to see. And so I think it was maybe 4 days in that a pair of house finches showed up, and that surprised me because I haven't seen house finches in this yard for many years. And at first it was a female, and then I was happy to see a male. And then the next day or another or 2 days later, there was actually 4 of them at the feeder. And I was, I would not have known that there was 2 pair or 4 house finches in the yard at the same time. I wouldn't have known that. House finches as well are not a bird that generally stay in this area of the province through the winter. And at least I've never seen them through the winter. And so it'll be interesting to monitor their activity, how long they stay. I'll be able to tell that with this bird feeder as well. The unit, you've probably heard the birds, but this unit, if I wasn't here with this camera, this unit also has a microphone. So it would be, if you were watching it live, you would actually hear the chickadees singing at the same time. You can also hear them landing on this, scratching about in the feed a little bit. You can hear all of that as you're watching it or on the recorded video. It also has an infrared camera, and it also has a little spotlight that lights up. I've seen the spotlight, but I have not seen it come on at the same time as the recording, so I'm not sure exactly how that works just yet, because nothing has been recorded at night. Although from the house, I have seen that it's a little bright white light that comes on, and at the same time, I don't know if it's coming on because it senses motion or not. There's very little motion that goes on back here, back in the backyard at night. So I might have to wait and see exactly how that works in combination with the camera and recording. The app not only records the birds showing up, it also notifies you when the birds are showing up. Now, I've had up to 200 notifications in a day that there's a bird visiting the feeder. And so I've actually turned off the notifications, and I'm relying on the playback of all of those videos, up to 200 15-second videos. I've set it for 15 seconds. I just am relying on that instead of the notifications every time a bird shows up, because, as I said, those chickadees, one will swoop in, take a seed, and then another one will swoop in, take a seed, and that can be a notification on each one. So I've elected to not be notified of the activity at the feeder. The app also notifies you if a squirrel is visiting. Now, I've had a couple of notifications that a squirrel is visiting, and there has not been a squirrel, so I'm not sure what kind of motion it's detecting. But that part is interesting if you have a problem with squirrels in the yard. This camera, or this unit, also has a built-in alarm that you can activate from the app, from your device. You just press a button and an alarm goes off. It's quite loud. You can control the volume, and at the loudest setting, I'm sure it would deter any unwanted creature at your bird feeder. I'm particularly curious about its frigid cold tolerance, because we get pretty cold, and so far we've gotten to about -5°C. There has been no trouble with this whatsoever. And to be fair, we haven't come across many things that are battery operated that continue to operate well or for a long time in those kinds of temperatures. So you can't fault a unit. I would not fault a unit like this for stopping at -20 or -30°C, where you'd have to disconnect or take it off the bracket, bring it in, warm it up, recharge the battery, and bring it back out. We have many things around that just don't operate battery operated at that kind of temperature. Even your phone, or the camera I'm recording on, those kinds of they just don't. The battery power is not there in frigid temperatures. I think I mentioned that when you first set this up, you do charge it with a USB cable. Didn't take that long. That was almost 2 weeks ago, I've had this up for close to 2 weeks, I think, 10 days for sure. And so far, with the solar panel and the battery charge, you can monitor the charge on your battery from the app that you have on your device. And so far, the battery power has not dropped below 99% battery charge. So the solar power is definitely doing something. And interestingly enough, we've had probably 3 days of like no sunshine. It's been cloudy, it's been rainy, it's been snowy, and this is still 99% charged, which I said you can see that on the app, what the charge is. And so, I mean, Peck Perk has made this whole unit just incredibly simple and really good quality. So that's all you get when you buy the unit. And but there is an additional charge if you like, and that is for premium membership. The premium membership, I think, allows 200 videos or perhaps more, but I've had up to 200. That it allows that many in an enhanced cloud storage. Otherwise, I think you get about 100 recordings. Also, with that premium membership, you get AI capability, and that will identify the birds for you. So when you have a recording, you would just press a button that says AI, and it would then come up with what it believes within a percentage that it's sure. It will come up with what the bird is. It might say it's 77% sure or something like that, but most of what I've every time I've pressed a button on the birds that have been visiting so far, it's 99% that it is certain that it is that kind of bird. There's also, I think, with the premium membership, a squirrel alarm feature where the alarm would go off automatically. I have the alarm turned off. I don't want it going off in cases of mistaken identity and scaring away birds. I just have the alarm turned off. It is very loud, and so I don't have a squirrel problem in the yard. If I had one, perhaps I would just activate that alarm from inside the house just to scare it off. And so all of that AI capability, the enhanced cloud storage, and that squirrel activity automation, I'm going to call it, I think that's what it is. All that costs $3.99 a month or $36.99 a year, I believe it is. And I think that might be American dollars. I haven't looked into that too much. Peck Perk was kind enough to provide that premium membership to me, as well as the bird feeder. But if you don't want that extra capability, the AI portion, and the enhanced cloud storage and that automated squirrel feature, then everything I mentioned prior to that all still works on the camera. You don't need to buy the extra, although I think it is kind of fun to have that AI capability if you had a lot of different birds showing up to the yard in the summer. I have a lot of birds showing up to the yard that I have a more difficult time identifying. And so I think it's going to be fun during that time to be able to use that AI capability. There's a chickadee sitting right on top of the camera. You can buy this unit directly from PeckPerk.com, and I looked it up today and it was 212 Canadian dollars plus shipping. You can also buy it from Amazon, and it was today was 199 Canadian dollars, and of course includes shipping. I say today because, if you shop on Amazon, that prices can fluctuate. I've not been watching this unit particularly on Amazon, so I'm not sure. But anyways, that's why I'm saying it's today's price. If you have any questions about this, about how it operates or something, just let me know in the comments. I think this unit, if you're a bird watcher, or even if you're not, if you only have kind of a passing interest, I think this is really fun. I am enjoying it. so much, and just the fact that it takes photos, it takes video. You can take photos just by sitting on your couch and watching the activity at the feeder. It's really a whole lot of fun, and I'm very thankful to Peck Perk for sending this out to me because I am having a blast with it. So thanks very much. I can't say anything else about it. I've not had any trouble with it at all. It's just working perfectly. I will, you know, be monitoring this, of course, through the winter because, as I said, I'm curious about its frigid cold capability, and so we'll see about that as well. Thanks very much for watching. See you.